Testing. Hello, hello.
All right, sorry for the delay, everyone. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Denning,
Here.
Mr. Hairston, Mr. Owens,
Here.
Mr. Rogers, Mr. Vasquez.
Here.
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to excuse Mr. Rogers and Mr. Hairston.
So moved. I'll second.
We have a motion and second to excuse Mr. Hairston and Mr. Rogers from the meeting tonight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we have approval of agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as published. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now, in your packet, you should have received the minutes for the March 20th meeting. If there are no additions or deletions to those minutes, the chair would entertain a motion to approve as published.
Move to approve the March 20th, 2023 minutes as published.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the March 20th, 2023 meeting minutes as published. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Are you okay? Or am I going too fast? The next is our minutes from our work session that you should have. Do we have? Yes, further back in your packet. If there are no additions or deletions to the minutes, the chair would entertain a motion to approve as published.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 20th, 2023 work session meeting minutes as published.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the March 20th, 2023 work session minutes as published. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. All right. Now, I'm going to remind anyone that wishes to speak to the Planning Commission tonight on a case that we are going to hear, that you must fill out a slip that's in the back of the room and hand it to Ms. Holt, and she will pass it down to myself to call on you during public comment. Also, make sure that you pull the microphone down towards you, as our city clerk is not here and she will be going off of the recordings of this meeting to do minutes, and we do detailed minutes. Also, you will need to state your name, your address, and or who you represent before you speak, and also say the oath of office that will be on the screen as well. There should be a copy on the podium as well. All right. So at this time, 6:55, we will open the PC case 230004. This is a site plan for 490 Woodman Drive. Partial ID I390091800005, a site plan application for a tire and lube service business in the B2 zoning district. All right, at this time, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Holt for the staff's report.
Thank you. I'll first start with the oath. I, Nia Holt, affirm that the testimony I am about to give before the Planning Commission is correct to the best of my knowledge. My address is 5200 Springfield Street, Riverside, Ohio, 45431. Just a reminder, this is a site plan review for a tire and lube service business in the B2 district. Just to give a little background on this case. Here is the aerial map of the site. It is outlined in blue. It is at the intersection of Woodman Drive and Burkhart. It is outside of the source water protection area. It is currently the Flower-Rama shop, and the applicant will demolish the current structure and rebuild new, approximately in this area. This access on Woodman Drive will be closed off, and the access to the site will be on Burkhart Road. They will appear before the Board of Zoning Appeal on the 25th of this month, because the drives here, the proposed drive, does not meet the current standards for distance. So that is before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let's move on. Here is the zoning map. Again, the site is outlined in blue. A little more about the project. There will be 3 service bays, 7 spaces, and you can see that in the site plan here. They are meeting our landscape requirements, meeting the parking requirements. So a lot of the requirements for our site plan are being met. It's just, like I said, that variance. So staff is recommending approval with a few conditions. Our standard conditions, they come back, get their zoning final approval. They go, of course, to Montgomery County, which is our partner in issuing building and occupancy certificates, all of that. Here is the elevations. It is pretty much standard, and it does meet our design requirements in the supplemental design and architectural standards in our zoning code with the earth tones and accent colors that we permit. Now going on to photos of the site. So like I said, it is the current Flower-Rama on the corner of Burkhart and Woodman. Here's another view just a little further back. You can see the intersection. Here is the adjacent property from Woodman and just the property just to the north. I show this because there's a drive that is access to this church that's just to the east of this property. And here is the adjacent property across from Burkhart Road. Here is the location of the proposed structure. This existing one will be removed and a new one built about here with the 3 bays. And customers will be able to drive in, stay in their car, get the work done, and exit around the building onto Burkhart Road. Here is the proposed access on Burkhart Road that I mentioned. And this, like I said, would be closed off, not just that wide expanse. There will be a sidewalk and curb that will be placed here, excuse me. And they have worked with our service department to make sure that the curb meets the service department's standards. So we do recommend approval with conditions. This is your required actions to either approve as it's presented, approve with conditions, or deny the application. Are there any questions from staff? Do you need to go back to any of the pictures?
You said there was the entrance to the church. Where was
Yeah.
that at?
If we go back, best to see it in the aerial. This is right here. And it goes back to the
Oh,
church
okay.
here.
Right
Mhm.
there. On Burkhart.
Yes, on
Yeah.
Burkhart. So there's 2 variances involved. There'll be the distance here and the distance to the intersection. Because what's required is 250 feet. But that's not what's provided. Yeah.
Did you say that along Woodman, it's going to be they're going to put sidewalks in?
It's going to be closed off. And there was a curb that's gonna be put in.
Doesn't the code say sidewalks?
Yes, there are sidewalks being put in.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Sorry.
Well, but the way that front is, I know from being down there, there's hardly no sidewalk there. It's been used just as, it's all open and you can drive across all of it.
On the one on our Google Docs, you can see the curb going on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's hardly anything there anymore. Okay, I was, and the signage that was on this,
Mhm.
all of the lettering, all that stuff meets our sign code, current sign code,
Yes, but I would have to see, because this is just like a rendering,
right?
so I would have to see the exact dimensions and all that when they submit.
Okay, so there's
Mhm.
been no signage submitted yet.
No, not at this point. But nothing stands out at me at this time.
They'll probably have to take down the sign that's already there, Rama sign, when they start
Mhm.
construction.
Mhm. Yeah, and if they wanted to have a freestanding sign, they would have
Yeah.
to apply for that.
Right. Anything else for staff?
Nope, that's it. There is information, well, one, I guess like I said, no, that's it, but there is one other thing. There is information from our engineers. They did take a look at that drive. Yes, that's it. Just looking at they did a risk assessment. And they found that since Burkhart Road is the lower impact road, that was the best practice to put the access on Burkhart. Given like the complexity of this site, I guess I'll say.
Right. All right. Any other questions for staff? Right, sir, Mr. Okay, if you would like to represent your client, if you have anything you'd like to say.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for meeting with me tonight. I apologize. I've got some allergies. I'm doing a lot of flying. I represent JM Civil Engineering, who's the consultant for this project. My home address is 11040 North 28th Drive, number 229, Phoenix, Arizona 85029. My office address is 76 East Mitchell Drive, and that's in Phoenix, Arizona 85012. And give the oath.
Yes, please.
I, Philip Sarandos, affirm that the testimony I'm about to give before the planning commission is correct to the best of my knowledge. I'd like to start off by saying you had it listed as a tire repair. There's no tire repair. It's just oil, fluids, filters, and wiper blades. I know, with automotive repair, a lot of the concern is like seeing tires stacked around. That's, you're not going to see any of that. In addition, all the service is done as a drive-through, so people stay in their cars. So you're not going to see a lot of cars parked. The only cars you're going to see parked are maybe 2 or 3 employees that are working there. The rest of it is just drive-through. They don't use power tools, so there's not going to be a lot of noise from impact wrenches and things like that. And there's not going to be a lot of parts sitting around on the site. It's very clean. I recently was passed to, in Michigan to fit in with their entertainment district, which doesn't allow automotive, but what they liked about it was the aesthetic of the place. Almost looks like a restaurant. It doesn't look like a gas station or a automotive repair. So very clean. They take good care of it. There's no noise. The only sound you're going to hear There's a doorbell when people pull up. And there's also a sign on the exit that says "Hunk for good service." If that's intrusive, that can certainly be removed.
Anything else you want to say? Or-
So they have delivery trucks once or twice a week that will deliver the oil and pick up the old containers, no larger than the size of garbage trucks. And there's no environmental issues because everything is contained. There's very little risk of spills or contamination. And the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I believe it's 10 to 6 on Sunday. If I'm not mistaken. Nine to 5 on Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, or Monday through Saturday, sorry.
All right. Okay.
Any questions?
I actually have a couple of questions. I've been in this community for a long time and I drive that intersection at least 3 times, 4 times a day. So mine is more concerned on some safety with traffic. And I understand what the engineers put, but I also have a different opinion because of driving it. How many cars do you think, or if you know, would be stacked up at any given time? Because I'm a little worried about other businesses that are similar, the drive-through, oil changes and that. Sometimes they get really stacked up and they go off lot. And this lot, there's nowhere to go really off lot.
Right.
Because you're going onto a very busy street. Either way, it's a very busy street, both the streets. So how will that be controlled?
So they plan for no more than 3 stacked up behind each bay.
Okay.
And in the experience, when people drive by and see a line of cars, they're going to keep going. There's actually one that I've gone to that's on my way home from work. And if I see a line of cars there, I'll wait. I'll go back when there's, when I see an empty bay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been my experience that, people will see like 2 or 3 cars stacked up. They'll come back later
Mm-hmm.
because it's a very quick process. I mean, 10, 15 minutes. They're
Right.
in and out.
Yeah, no, I have mine done a lot of times at one of the
Did you?
places similar, but I've also been in a line where I've been half in the parking lot and half on the street. And so that's my concern coming out on Burkhart. Yeah, it's not as heavy, but you're still talking almost, you're starting to push towards 8,000 vehicles and you're opening at 7 a.m. and you've got a school a couple 100 feet away and they're in and out with drop off in the morning at probably 8:20-ish, maybe 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. And then their pickup, it's because it's 100% drop off pickup school. There is no busing.
Right.
And so it's just a little bit of a safety concern there. I've been on that property when the current business is super busy, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how many times I've almost seen people crash trying to get out of there onto Burkhart, especially the ones trying to turn left. And that's where one of my big concerns is people trying to come out of there and turn left. When you're sitting in that drive, you can't see those people coming down like from 35 that are turning right onto Burkhart. You can't see or judge when you've got 3 lines of traffic
Yes.
in front of you. So I'm a little concerned about them turning left out of that parking lot.
We can certainly make it a right out only if that's
Okay.
something that would make it, satisfy it. My experience in speaking with the client, because I've done a few of these, it's an oil change isn't something you need, like drive-through, for example. I've seen a lot of drive-throughs that actually back onto the street and create a dangerous situation. And that's something people need every day. Oil change is something you need every 3 months or 3,000 miles.
Right.
So if you're driving by these things and you see a line of cars, you can keep going and come back later.
Mhm.
It's not something that has to be done right away. It's
Right.
something that more of a convenience.
Right. I understand. I just have had my experience of being out on the road.
Does your client have information about like trip generation during school hours, or maybe, I don't know, the early hours they have, like 7 to 9? Or even like, 1 to 2 when
Yeah,
kids
just
are getting
that
out?
busier time is, I mean, we want to encourage business. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything that I just want to make sure that we are providing a safe environment for everybody who travels our streets.
So they estimate 45 cars on a typical day. And the average time is 10 minutes.
Okay.
That's all the information I've been given.
Okay. All right.
So
12 hours. Okay. All right. Well. And your client would not allow, they would figure out a way of moving traffic if it did start to get out to the road.
Yes.
Are you- So, because that probably is a big concern as well, is like trying to stack cars out on the road. It's just not that road.
Yeah, my experience with these, it's never backed up like that. It's not like a drive-through. It's not like a florist shop on Valentine's Day. It's, if I need to get my oil change, and the one that I drive by, I actually drove by it 3 or 4 times before I saw it short enough to where I felt comfortable pulling in.
Well, I know the last 2 times I went to the drive-through oil change place further north is I've had to wait, and I've been back on the access road waiting.
Really?
People wait, especially when Groupons come out,
I understood.
and I don't know if your client does that, and that doesn't matter, but it's going to be new here. So that's the other thing, who doesn't like being able to sit in their car and get their oil changed, right? It's a great service. And I could see in that area where you're going to have a lot of people like going, oh, wow, I don't have to drop my car off. I don't have to, and that. So I see where they could become very successful in that corner. Any questions for the client?
Nope.
Um, 45 cars. Ms. Holt, if it's only 45 cars a day on average, is there anything we could do is there any way we could do something that we can put in the conditions that talks about there'll be no stacking of cars onto Burkhart? You know what I'm saying? And just to, even though they probably won't, unfortunately, we've had some instances elsewhere where we didn't put it in writing, and then it happened in the good faith conversation that was had beforehand. We didn't have a leg to stand on. So I'm not as easygoing when it comes to that. But is there something we could do where we can protect ourselves to make sure that we're not going to have the cars stacking up on Burkhart? And is there a way that if for some reason that area becomes very contentious, since they're saying only 45, I don't necessarily want to immediately put the restriction of a right turn only if that's all they're going to have, since the engineer, taking into account for the engineer's report. But if for some reason this would increase that over what the flower shop and that would bring, down the road, we could make that a right turn only if there's becomes a safety issue down the road.
Think you can put like a future
Mhm.
Yeah,
condition. And the dilemma is that If you can't have him come back and submit another application for what he already received an application for.
Right, that I'm just asking because
Yeah,
I have a concern with the left turn in general, really. But, I'm willing to say, well, 45 cars over a 12-hour period, that's not a lot, okay.
I have an idea. I don't know if I'm overstepping or if the client would agree to this. But I'm sure that they would be willing to work with you. They don't want to bully anybody. But just something that occurred to me is maybe a temporary sign that they could put out by the road that says, stacking full, please come back later, or something to that effect.
Yeah, just so that they can control it,
Yeah.
control, and that we wouldn't allow, I'll forego the turn thing. But I would like some language, about, there'll be no stacking of cars onto the roadway.
and that's a legitimate condition because it wouldn't be legal anyway to have a
Right,
car sitting out,
but-
but that there be some responsibility on the establishment.
Versus the
to
police. I
monitor
wouldn't
that,
want the police to have to get involved
be there all the
also.
time.
So it's kind of, showing good faith as a business, wanting to keep it off and not have to have the police be involved. And they just would be conscious of that
Yes.
a little bit
We
more.
don't
So,
want to create a hazardous situation. We want everyone. to be
yeah,
safe.
I know. And please understand, I'm just coming at this from a safety point.
Understood.
Because I use the type of service you are going to provide. So but yeah, so I'd like to just put a condition on that that the client, I don't know how to word it.
So we can say that the business, the property owner shall be responsible to control the stacking and to,
To not allow the stacking out
onto
to the-
Burkhart, whether that be signage, personnel, whatever.
Yeah, and then that way
We'll
they
get
can
that
kind of
language to
decide
you.
how they can handle that.
Mhm.
Does that seem fair to you?
I do have a question, Ms. Holt. You mentioned that they're supposed to go before, is it variance?
Yes.
For the Burkhart access. What precludes them from having exit to Woodman Drive? On the far
Um,
corner of the lot? They have to appear anyway before the variance. It's gonna be about the same distance exiting Burkhart as it is exiting Woodman. That could help with the flow of the traffic.
That was the plan that they put before us, that
Okay.
didn't have
They
any,
want it.
yeah. If they wanted to, would have to, bring it back to the technical review committee. And I can speak confidently that they would want any access on Woodman to be right in, right out only.
Yes. That's what I. mean.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
No.
Okay, so we will, do you have anything else you want to address?
Not at this time.
Okay, so we'll close the hearing and then we'll talk with commissioners. So we'll close the hearing at 7:20. And commissioners, I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions, adding the condition. How did you state that, Ms. Holt?
There will be no stacking on Burkhart, and it'll be the applicant's or the property owner's responsibility through signage or personnel control.
With that condition added to the current conditions staff has recommended.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve PC case 230004, the 49 Woodman Drive, parcel ID 390091800005. With conditions as stated by staff, and the condition to put the stacking of cars onto Burkhart as the responsibility of the applicant or landowner. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please. I'm sorry, any discussion? I'm not used to making the motions anymore. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denning,
Yes,
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you very much for traveling so far to come see us for this short amount of time, and we apologize for your wait. And just work with Ms. Holtz on next steps.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
thank you. And
Do I need to be at the zoning board of appeals meeting on the 25th or?
You do not have to, because we have your justification statements, but I can call you and we can talk more about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, sounds good. All right.
he's like, I don't know if I want to travel back to Ohio.
I don't know, when I went to Phoenix back in the 1st of March, it was snowing there.
All right. Okay, so do I need to? I already closed this one.
Yes.
But I have to open this and then, okay. At this time, we're going to open PC case 23-0005. Which is a site plan for 3600 Valley Pike, partial ID I390020200045. A site plan review of a stormwater detention basin for a landscaping business in the I-1 zoning district. At this time, it is my understanding that the applicant has not provided all the documentations yet, and they need a little more time. So the chair would would entertain a motion to continue this to our May meeting.
I will make a motion to move to table PC case 230005, a site plan review for stormwater basins at 3600 Valley Pike until the May Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant to continue to work with staff on the design of the basin.
That,
We have a motion and a second to continue PC case 230005 to the May meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez,
yes.
Mrs. Denning.
Yes. Okay, we will close that, or no, we leave that open until the next meeting. Sorry. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is a City of Riverside Comprehensive Plan for 2023 update. And we are in need of continuing that because we didn't get all the documentation we needed, correct?
Well, it came a little late, so I understand that you all would like some more time to review that.
Appreciate it.
So if we could have a motion to continue that to our May meeting.
Move to table the planning commission's action on the City of Riverside Comprehensive Land Use Plan 2023 update until the May Planning Commission meeting to give all members of the commission adequate time to review the draft.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to continue the City of Riverside Comprehensive Land Use Plan for 2023 update to our May meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mrs. Denning.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so now we are moving on to the zoning administrator discussion topics.
So I have been working with the BZA on training them on a few things that they work on a daily basis. I've created some PowerPoints, and just because you guys work so closely and bounce, as we saw today, topics off one another, I'm going to share those with you all, and you guys can use those as training yourselves. There's also some upcoming training that is happening with the APA. I'm going to share those as well and share where you guys are on your hours. I know some are already done because you attended that all-day training, but some of this stuff is just refresher that you've already done. So that's all I have for topics.
Awesome. All right. Does our legal counsel have any comments at this time? I do not. Okay. Matters by commissioners. Mr. Valquez, anything?
No, I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Owens?
Not at this time.
All right. This time, I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight, and I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion to adjourn at 7:27. All those, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.